but we don't print red, green, and blue, so we have to change that to something that we can print. And we go back to the image mode and we choose CMYK. Now, the thing is, I'm not sure what the settings are right now. Let me go back and make sure that the edit settings, and if that's where you want it, let me know.
I want you to go into CMYK. Set that black generation to light.
Light, okay.
Yeah. And go total increment 320. Okay. Convert that one.
So after the setting is done, now I'll go back and say image mode and CMYK. And it tells you, God it does, that hey, you're about to make this change. Is that what you really want? This is good because in the past it never told you. I may be doing something for printing on dark t-shirt, working with dark t-shirts, black t-shirt. I don't need a black separation. So I may go none on my separation saying I don't need any black. Give me yellow, magenta, cyan at its fullest range. I'm going to put it on black shirt. So the black shirt, I'm not going to waste my ink. I'll let the black be my ink, right? If you came behind me, because Photoshop glues the last settings of whoever used it, you're going to inherit it. And if it doesn't warn you, you'll be sitting there thinking all day that you're converting your images. Yes, you are, but without any black. That will not work very well for offset printing. It works for me in my t-shirt separation, but it's not going to work very well for you when you take only CMY without the black giving it what? The dark end, that little bump, the shape, right? You're not going to get a full range. So it's not going to look good. It's good that it warns you now. It says, hey, be careful, you're about to use this. And you read it and go, yeah, that's exactly what I want. Okay? You say, okay.
Now do me a favor, if you can go into the preferences, set the channels to color.
Okay.
So I'm letting you try.
Interface.
And then click channels to color. Now what you want is I want you to shut everything. You got the duplicate one?
Let me see. Yeah, yeah.
All right.
Well, this is, okay.
This is the one, because I want to do the comparison.
Okay.
You can go ahead and get the other one and then convert that to a heavy, or GCR, and then I can show the comparative blacks,
Sure.
the yellows, the magentas, and the three colors, and what have you.
Sure. So I'll go back and change my settings again, because this time he wants to do another one with a heavy black separation. So I need to go back and once again to my CMYK settings, to my custom, and tell it that I want it to be heavy. And I say, okay. This image here is in CMYK. To convert it, I need to go back to RGB, mode RGB. Now that it's in RGB, I'm going to go back and tell it to convert to CMYK. Image mode and to CMYK. Again, it warns me that you're about to change your profile. Is that what you want? I say yes.
Now, if you can take the black printer of the light, we'll start from there.
Okay.
So basically, this is giving me a full range black. Can you split them?
Yep.
And you'll see the big differences in the black printer right off the bat. Much ridiculous. Right off the bat, you see the difference in the black printers, the light and heavy. So what you're doing is that you're generating a full range black using a heavy amount of GCR. And what it's going to do, if you were to go to the three color of this one, put the three colors on, and now go independent of each color. You See that? Now go to the one on the
This
other
is what you're gonna get. Now, this has some black in it, right? But imagine that if you use the non-separation that's good for me, for my t-shirt print, right? You're gonna be, you know, you'll have to deal with issues here. Okay, so I'll go with this one here?
Yes. Now
Alright.
go to the three-colored that one. Huge difference. Huge difference. So what I'm doing, but if you put it together, they're gonna look alike. And the reason why they came up with this theory of GCR, it's web-based printing, heat set web, because ink is very expensive, and black ink is the cheapest ink. So if you're able to reproduce a 4-color image using less 3-color and still getting it with the black, that would be the way to separate that particular image in a heat set environment. We introduced it into a sheet fed environment probably back in the 90s, because we also thought that it gave it shape. This is, right here is it's kind of an exaggerated, because we never use a heavy amount of GCR, but I just wanted to show you with that setting, for instance, if someone was playing with it, not knowing what they're doing, and you had an RGB image, this is what you'd be sending to the printer. And you're like, why is this printing like that? And that's the reason why it's printing like that. If you put them all together, there is a certain amount of dirt, contamination, and you'll see it in the lady's hair. Go to the other one. Yeah. You see it? Big difference. It starts to dirty up certain saturated colors a little bit. You don't see it too much in the primaries, but I mean, I can see it. I see that the red's a little darker. I see it in her hair.
Look at the hairline, the highlight on the hair, right? Within the tree, right? Do they look alike? Yeah. And if you're probably not comparing, if I just send this to you in the mail, junk mail or whatever, and it's in a magazine, what are you comparing it to, right? You don't know her. You can't tell if I was right. But a client who has the original, what happened here?
The flesh tones are a little dirty. So that's why, as I was explaining, know what you're doing. And if you don't know, we'd be more, being the printer, I like to convert because I know, how much I want the black to be coming into the separation, or how much total range or total ink density I want. Because what will happen is that looks nice on the screen, you get it on press, and if there's not a lot of color or dot, and we're trying to run the density, it's going to be flat. And we won't, it won't be flat. So
you lose the contrast. You don't have the tone to give it the density that you need and the contrast you need. You can add all the color you want. All you're going to get is a flat looking image because you just don't have that shape, to bump out, to give you the extra.
What do you usually choose? Is it the light or medium? Is that what
I use light because I like the skeleton black. I'm an ex-scanner operator, so what I mean is that I'm the one that the button got replaced. I used to generate. I generated the information. Yes. So knowing where I want the black to fall in the tone, I normally use a light black because as we were showing you in that quadrant where you use the light, the black didn't start really doing its thing until like the mid-tone, three-quarter tone. And that's when you want it to really act. In this particular situation, you're telling the black, you want the black to be throughout the whole separation of your 3 colors.
So you see black in your highlight and black in
The
your
only way
shadow.
that you want to use this application is that if, let's say you had a black and white image and you want to make it 4 color. You want to have elements of cyan, magenta, yellow, along with black. That process where you use the heavy GCR will be good for this because you want to maintain gray, but you're printing 4 color. And by increasing the black, you're minimizing the flash of the 3 colors so that this doesn't turn blue, yellow, red. It maintains its gray. So the only application of using a full strength GCR conversion would be if you want to print a black and white 4 color.
Now, many times, we get that problem where people convert to try to get a black and white 4-color image. Grayscale image, which basically we call a black and white image, doesn't have the depth that a 4-color black and white would have. Just by adding additional cyan, magenta, yellow to black to create gray gives it a little bit depth. But it creates a challenge for printing because we're printing on sheets. We always swear that if you buy a pack of paper from staples and whatnot, and it says it's 8.5 by 11, that each one of them is 8.5 by 11. That's not true. There may be a smidgen difference between, the sheets, but it's important. When it's feeding through your laser printer, what it means is that they're not all going through the same, position. If it's a little shorter here than it is, there, something is changing. Okay, the same thing happens on press. If my sheets are not, the same,
Or registration.
well, registration is off.
Shift
The colors are supposed to cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. It only looks like this if every color hits where they're supposed to in relation to what's on the computer. If I shift one slightly, guess what? The color will change. The challenge is on press. We got to keep it the same way. The yellow comes in, the magenta comes in, the cyan comes in, black comes in, and each one will have to respect the position that they were in before. And that's the skill that the press operator will have to work on to maintain that relationship. Now, that challenge comes in because some part may not be his fault. The sheet size may be slightly different, well, you can't control that. Now, it's not so different that one is this big and the other one is that big. That's very obvious. But when it's in micron, very tiny, difference, but that's about the size of a dot. And if a dot is moving out of position, the image is actually changing. Okay, how far it changes is what, will create the biggest change. If it's slight, you might not be able to tell, but the change is actually going on. Now, on the 4-color gray image, the challenge is with the shifting back and forth, that's possible. When there's a slight shift, you may have a color that may have, even though it's supposed to be gray, it looks kind of magenta, reddish gray. Then at another time, when it's shifting another way, it may look kind of cyanish, bluish gray. Okay? So if you took that annual report, that you decided that I'm not going to use any color at all, I just want color, but I want it to look gray because, it just looks great on this paper, blah, blah, blah. You take 1, 2, 3, 4, lay them down, and you can have a slight variance. So his way of dealing with it is to generate heavy black.
Or
And
tritone. Give me a tritone.
oh, it says, give me a tritone.
Give me 2 grays and a black, and I don't have to worry about
And
the
then,
shifting the
is
color.
that, okay.
We just did an annual report where they wanted to use black and white images, and it was very challenging. It came out phenomenal, but that's how we treated that particular project, was to, use that amount of GCR.
No, I just wondered, with the GCR versus with the UCR?
Do a UCR.
I just wondered that too. Now, do you usually?
I don't
say-
use, I haven't
No.
used UCR.
In fact,
UCR.
most people these days don't.
I haven't used it in, I would say, 20 years.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
It's still there, but.
I just wasn't sure if that was something, I just wasn't sure the difference, or if it even was an option I should.
I mean, there's a slight difference. Your blacks are not going to be as black. You can go ahead and do one. I mean, they'll be black, but the in the introduction of using GCR when it first came on the scene, it gave it shape. Gave the separation shape. Whereas in the UCR, it's only specifically used in the shadow area. So it's not, you don't have the black coming into the separation as you have coming into the separation like you would in the GCR.
But you kind of like it only coming into the shadow area, you're doing a light, right?
I use a light GCR, but if you notice,
That's just coming on the, I think the light only came in on the 3/4 10. and-
well, actually, if you did the light, it comes right about here in the quarter tone.
Right.
Do the light.
No highlights.
It's not enough. Right now, this.
Well, that's heavy now, right?
Right,
That's
if you
heavy.
do light, you're gonna see the black jump, I would imagine, right about here.
Okay, I thought it
Let me
was starting,
see.
I thought it was starting kind of like mid-tier.
Actually, it's almost in the
Yeah,
mid-tone.
Yeah.
Right, the jump, so is that kind of like the UCR one, or no?
No, go ahead and hit the UCR.
The UCR is definitely just the.
Yeah, you see where it goes almost up to 3/4 tone.
Okay, all right.
So it's, like I said, it increases the 3-color and not as much as the black. The GCR, if you go back to that, click that, reduces the 3-color and brings the black up
Yeah,
in the
really
shadow.
brought up the other colors a lot too.
Right.
In the UCR.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, I just wondered, I wasn't sure if you'd see it, maybe you don't see a big difference there
Sure.
between the light here, the way you've done your GCR and the
See
UCR
that?
image.
So,
If I did a
it's
medium
where
or
the black
heavy
is
work.
coming in that
Okay.
really is the.
Well, UCR looks like it doesn't even give you that option.
It does.
Sure.
UCR is just UCR.
UCR is just adding black in the shadow area.